Thank you so much, Don, for inviting me to, speak. And I'm open if you guys have any questions about anything. I'll just give you a little bit of what comes to mind for me, especially with everything like Don is doing, and having like working moms, boss moms, entrepreneur moms. I actually do not have kids, but I'm the oldest of 8. So I feel like I kind of was like a parentified child and helped raise a lot of kids. And honestly, being the oldest of 8 is the reason I don't have kids. I'm still tired. But um, just thinking about the importance of mental health when it comes to mothers, because for me, some of you, I don't know if you are connected with Therapy is Light or not, but one of my founding reasons for creating it was watching my mom go through mental health issues that basically impacted me when I was a young adult and a child, and that didn't really manifest until I would say maybe when I graduated from college around like 22, like I was super depressed, super anxious, and I just couldn't pinpoint why. And it wasn't until I went to therapy that it just really increased my self-awareness of everything that I had been through that really impacted my mental health, emotional health, my relationships. So I think it's a super important topic, especially for mothers, because, there's different circumstances surrounding how it happens. But one thing I can say for sure that I've seen like in my work, in the research, is, one of the most important factors for kids growing up that actually impacts their long-term mental health into adulthood is, those parental relationships and that family dynamic. And so not seeing mommy or daddy happy can basically create very unhappy adults who grow up looking for like acceptance or love and all these things they were missing in their childhood, as a result of just kind of missing that in their upbringing. Like I said, feel free if you guys have any questions or anything, so I don't just get on here ranting, to let me know. But as far as like being an entrepreneur, I can say one of my good friends, she actually is a mother for, and she's in the process now of during the pandemic of wanting to start a business. And she actually reached out to me and, kind of confided in me that she was feeling kind of down about, the lack of support, like all these things you experience when you're an entrepreneur trying to get something started. You have this great vision and belief in yourself, but everybody else might not necessarily see it or even believe in it until it's already popping, honestly. And that's something I've dealt with, even like a platform that looks so big. It's just one of those things of entrepreneurship where you realize, what actually attracts people to you or what they're actually coming from, which for most people, it's like, how can I benefit from this? How is this going to improve my quality of life? Whereas an entrepreneur, we have different reasons for it. Like some of us, the motivation is money. Some of us, the motivation is like, we're just really passionate about something. And, we just don't even feel fulfilled unless we're doing work in some type of way that incorporates that. Some people, it's something that turned from a hobby and then they were like, you know what, this is kind of profitable. Why not have an extra stream of income? So one thing I would tell entrepreneurs in general, whether you're, have kids or not, any entrepreneur goes through that phase where they're kind of just, they might question their own selves or the vision for why they even started once they do start and feel like it's not like flying off or they're not getting that support initially that they wanted. Now, one thing I have found to be true is that definitely, well, I won't say definitely, it really fluctuates, but sometimes strangers will go harder for you and support you more than your friends and family. And that's kind of one of those cliche things you see floating around a lot, but I can tell you right now, it's facts from what I've experienced. I mean,
of course, think that is.
You know what? And like, so from my personal experience, it does kind of just go back to, it's hard for people who don't know you to to like see you solely as an entrepreneur. Sometimes I feel like I try to stay away from the negative rationale that some people say is like, oh, y'all both came from the same place. They don't want to feel like you're getting ahead of them. I'll actually say something that might be offensive to some people, which is sometimes the effort that we're putting into our business doesn't match like the expectation of support. So my thing is, you have to be your number one believer and investor and supporter before anybody else. Because if you're not investing in you, and that's a parent, you know, whether it's like you don't even want to take the time to like buy a logo or like study your craft. Like if it looks thrown together, other people aren't going to believe your vision, because we might have, you know, the idea in our mind, like, yes, this looks good. But for an outsider, they're like, what's the mission here? Like, how does this benefit me? And we can benefit from like investing in, you know, people to help us with marketing, branding. Even though my platform has grown, I still have not honestly invested much money into it. I utilize like free software. I did, I mean, it was time consuming, but I researched certain industries and things like that. But I still haven't put money. I was thinking the other day, like I've been an administrative assistant. Like there are a lot of things that I could even invest more into to like really get it to grow or see the results I want to see. But then for me, it was more so I wanted to make sure my motivation was right for why I was doing this. So like I said, everybody has a different why. And when I first started out, it was like, I want money. It was like, is this actually my platform? Even though it's a mental health awareness platform, I was like, how can this be a passive stream of income? I started the online store. I was getting sales, but I just was like, I had actually watched the free training where it was like, make 6 figures selling t-shirts. I was like, ooh, that sounds good and easy. Like, let me do that. I have not made 6 figures yet, but I also haven't invested to make that happen. But as it's grown, like that's not my goal. My goal is actually, you know, every comment I get on my page where it's like, I needed to read this. Like that's what makes me feel good. Like it's all right getting a deposit, but that's not going to keep you motivated during those times where, you know, let's say your bank account orders sales, because especially when you're first starting off, like most people don't go from 0 to 6 figures. Like it's a process. You have to stick with it and like learn what works for your business, learn what products your customers actually want to buy from you or like what they need. So you have to get clear about what your why is, what your target market is, how you can help in a unique way to meet that need. But as far as like the friends and family thing, so I will say my close friends and family, I can count on one hand, I'm not gonna lie. I can count on one hand the amount of them who actually like purchase something from me. But I have a unique situation as well, which is one of the reasons why I even was interested in entrepreneurship, because I grew up in poverty. Like my family does not have money. So when I'm selling $20 t-shirts, it's with the understanding that, you know, for everybody that might not even be something that's like, you know, realistically in their budget right now. Like they, you know, just barely made their car payment or paid the rent. So it is being realistic. Like, what is my target audience? It is being okay with, let me give some things away for free if that's what it's going to take for me to like build my network or market, or because there's just so many different techniques. So for me, I would love to think that nobody that I'm close to doesn't have like ill will, and they're just like, oh, I don't want to see her succeed. I would hope it's not that. But honestly, if you're not an entrepreneur, some people really just do not get it, because everybody does not have that passion or that fire to create something from the ground up, and like they just don't know how much it means to you. So I always encourage to like have, you know, respectful interactions. Like if there is somebody you feel like should be supporting you and they're not the way you think, you know, giving them suggestions of like, you know, I would love it if like, you know, you would be able to repost or share my, you know, my flyers or whatever, because there are free ways that you can show support. But if you're not an entrepreneur, honestly, you're not thinking about that sometimes. So we do have to learn to like not take it personally, and just know that everybody honestly isn't built the way we're built. Everybody doesn't have the kind of vision that we have. And that one friend who actually vented to me about this, she was like, you know, just kind of expressing too how like, you know, people weren't doing certain things. And I actually shared with her, like, you're my friend, so I try to support you, but I can't even relate to like what your product is at all. So as an entrepreneur, I'm liking your stuff and I'll like add it or whatever, but it's like, I'm not your target audience. So, you know, getting clear with who is it that I'm selling to. Like your friends and family might not be your target audience. In a perfect world, they would still support you and know what to do. But I actually realized when she was venting to me that there was more I could do to make her feel supported. Like I hadn't shared like any of her videos because I was like, that don't got nothing to do with me. And I'm an entrepreneur. So like sometimes we really just aren't thinking about it. So you know, it's a delicate balance of like not taking those things personally when people don't support you because sometimes they literally just do not know to do that. And I actually have seen some entrepreneurs include like in their captions, like, please share this with, a friend, or like, I could really use these guys' support. And like, I'm seeing more of that. Sometimes we really have to tell people like what we're asking them. Like, even if you're posting a product, some people will not even think to buy it until you put like, oh, this is on sale now, buy it at so that it just goes back into that marketing piece too, like understanding what the call to action is, like building up that storyline. So there's just so many things that go into it. I did want to ask, like, for those of you who are mothers, do you guys have any specific, I guess, difficulties that you find yourself going through during the pandemic? Or if you are entrepreneurs, does anybody have any type of specific question before I go into like general stuff? No. Okay. All right. So just thinking about the pandemic and just like I said, working with people and like seeing what comes up for in conversation. I know that the time management piece for parents and even like I said, anybody, entrepreneur in general, that time management piece can get difficult. So I'm a big proponent of scheduling in your self-care, scheduling in when you're able to like work on your business. Because the friend that I talked to who is both a mother and entrepreneur, she also expressed like kind of just feeling overwhelmed. Like there isn't time in the day like for me to work on this. Like my kids are always like on me. Like now during the pandemic, people are having to homeschool, cook, do all the regular stuff. And some people are working while they're doing that. Yeah, I see Karen mentioned like how to balance work, business plus kids. Like I can't even imagine like that struggle. But I always tell people like we put so much energy into work, right? And that's what, kind of like inspires many of us to become entrepreneurs. It's like, man, I don't want to work for somebody else and like put all this energy in somebody else and I could be like doing it for me. Sometimes you have to treat your own personal life with the same dedication and organization that you would a business or a job. So to Karen's point, when you're trying to balance those things, the same strategies you would employ at work, I encourage people to employ that in your personal life. If you have a planner for work, like, okay, I have this meeting at 1:30, I have to speak to this person at this time, do that with your own home schedule. So even if that means, and like it really depends on like the age of your kids and a lot of different things. But if you can get an idea of like when are the hours that I'm awake, when do the kids wake up? For me, for example, even without kids, I know I do not wake up and like immediately want to jump into some work. So I try to set my alarm where I have at least an hour or two to like mentally prepare for the day because I'm not going to be in the mood to just immediately start working. So I always recommend like an hour of self-care when you start your day at least, or 30 minutes, whatever is like realistic, and then at least 30 minutes at the end of the day. Where you actually create a routine. So that can look like, I'm trying to think of examples, journaling, doing your devotional, having a yoga mat, and like putting a space on the floor where you just stretch before the day starts with like relaxation noises playing in the background. So that would be something that's like self-care for you, which we kind of sometimes forget about self-care and like just try to sneak it in there. But it's not like we don't go a day without drinking water or eating food and be like, oh, I forgot about it. It wasn't that important today. Like maintaining your mental health is an everyday activity, just like you don't go to work for 2 days and expect that you're going to get a whole paycheck. So you have to apply that logic to every area of your life. Like I have to have the same commitment to doing this that I have to my paycheck if I want to get paid. Alyssa said her self-care is travel time from work to home. Yes. Yes, I love it. I see, unfortunately, I'm working remotely, so I don't even have that anymore. But that used to be super big for me. I would listen to podcasts or just ride in silence. And honestly, don't sleep on the importance of quiet, silent time. I know, like I said, it can be hard when you have kids. But even if it's, that moment at 9 p.m. or midnight, whenever they go to bed, like value that 30 minutes you have to yourself to like just be with your thoughts and process the day. So my favorite thing to do with that time personally is journaling, because then I can think about like everything that happened that day. What am I feeling? If I can't afford like a therapist or somebody to talk to, I'm not just completely neglecting like everything I experienced in that day. Karen said my 9 to 5 is remote, and I have to be shown, I have to be active on my laptop. I feel like I neglected my kids' fun time when they got, oh, you're drained to have to cook. Yeah, the only outside playtime is Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I do hear that a lot. Yeah, that's really just so tough. So one suggestion for that is, so like before, after work, I always recommend trying to see where, I call it basically like 2-in-1 self-care, like where are the opportunities where you can kind of be doing like two things at one time, as horrible as it sounds. But so what that can look like is, so for example, for me, it might look like I'm exercising and I'm listening to an inspirational podcast. So it's like I'm getting my physical activity in, and my ears are being stimulated with like a motivational message that's going to feed my mind, body, and spirit. So just thinking about all those different dimensions of wellness. So your kids are 3 and 1. So yeah, that's so tough. I was gonna say, like for some people, when their kids are a little bit older, they can even like start getting the kids involved with certain things to make it easier. The only outside playtime is Saturday and Sunday. So this is the part where I think your best like way of navigating that is like just utilizing what we call like your natural supports. So, and like I said, this might not be something that's currently realistic for you, but it can be like a goal that you work towards. So for like some people, whenever you're a mother, having a network with other people who either like have kids your age, so that y'all are able to swap tips. Some people do things like co-working days, kind of like they go to their friend's house or a family member's house and kind of like have them help with the kids while they're working. Like this time is definitely calling for us to get like super creative. So I'm just thinking, and like I said, it might not be a possibility for you, but you know, is there anyone in your family or network where it's possible for them to kind of tag team with you? Like, even if it's like, okay, the kids will be with you this day, or like their schedule might be a little bit different from yours. So you're able to like coordinate to kind of relieve like some of that burden off of you. Meal prepping is super big for me, but like I said, I'm not doing it with kids. I would love to think I'm gonna be Martha Stewart or doing all this multitasking, but I think everybody can benefit from meal prepping. So once again, just how we're so organized with our work schedule, like creating a schedule of what are my meals for this week. When they go to school, they got that little calendar. Y'all got your little cheese sticks on Monday, pizza on Tuesday, like planning in advance, like what are my meals for this week? And then doing whatever you can, you know, even if it's on the weekend, because that's personally what I do, and I'm plant-based. So I will like chop up stuff, make my little baggies, have things in containers, like basically have things ready for at least the next 2 or 3 days. So once I'm in the heat of the moment, I'm not sitting here like, oh, what's for lunch? Like that's just another thing to stress about. So like wherever you can, plan ahead just like you would if you were at work. If they told you, oh, you have a luncheon you have to present for on Tuesday, you're probably not going to wait until Tuesday to be like, what am I going to talk about? Or where's the PowerPoint? Like plan your personal life in advance, just the way you would plan work in advance. So hopefully something I said helped with that a little bit, but I know it's super tough, especially with young age kids. I'm trying to think of some other things I've heard.
Yeah, I had a question. So we're always all glued to our phones, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what app, like, do you have any apps that you would suggest? Like I have a meditation app on my phone that I subscribe to that kind of helps me, because it's very annoying. It reminds me until I do it.
Good.
That's something that's very helpful. So even when I'm like swiping up that notification, like an hour later, it's like, girl, don't forget.
Yes.
You need that time. Do you have any apps or something similar, or sites or whatever that you would suggest that would help?
Yeah. So as far as the relaxation piece, like these are some that I have personally used, but I feel like there are probably even better ones out there that might be specific for like, you know, whatever your situation is, whether it's a mother, student, worker, all of the above. So one that I love is called Calm, CALM. So that helps if you're a person who tends to be anxious kind of or stressed out. Like it has like breathing exercises you can do, like kind of like guided meditations where some people you just need somebody talking to you or like showing you how to like woosah basically. My top favorite app is Relax Melodies. But that's for me, I'm a really big relaxation noise person. Whenever my like anxiety honestly was at its worst point ever in my life, it really helped me to have relaxation noises. So relax melodies, any sound you can think of, they got you up there. You can listen to the rain, you can listen to ocean waves, you can listen to chimes, like, and I would literally do that, listen to it anytime I felt myself like just, being stressed out at work. It's perfect for bedtime, like Don mentioned, getting away from your phone and like turning your phone completely off or just using it for the sound of that app, putting it out of your, arm reach so you're not just sitting there still scrolling or texting. Yeah, I'll type those in there. So the ones I mentioned so far are Calm, my cat blocks on, and Relax Melodies is like my favorite. I've had this one on my phone for years. Um, and so, yeah, that helps with sleep hygiene too. If you're a mother, it's also something you can use with your kids, like maybe get them excited about it because it's a great way to like wind down. And there's like research and stuff on like the power of like music, energy wise, like what it does for your brain waves and all of that to just listen to kind of a repetitive like sound and like just really be mindful and present in that moment because we're usually just going, 100 miles per hour. There's always something on their mind. So it really helps you to, just be present and like start to relax whenever you have a sound to, stimulate your mind in that way. I'm trying to think of other apps. Personally, I don't use them because I'm really old school. I'm a pen and paper person. So I really just prefer my journal, but there are like organization apps. I'm trying to think if I can remember the name of any of them. There are just so many out there. I would just recommend going to the app store, whatever it is that you need help with, typing it in. I promise you there's a app for that nowadays. So, but for me, I have to go to a store and buy an actual planner. Like I don't want the little calendar on the computer. I don't really use the one on my phone. I want the actual, let me scratch that off, let me highlight this. I gotta have that in my hand. So that's something that can help. Just really planning in advance. Like I said, schedule in your self-care just like you schedule in everything else. Like at 10 o'clock, that's it. My phone is going on do not disturb. I'm turning on my relaxation noise. I'm going to watch my favorite show. Like whatever it is that is your thing that kind of gets you centered. I actually even brought some colored pencils the other day to just like start coloring and stuff, like spending a little time doing that. Like it would get creative about it because like we've been on this pandemic lockdown kind of for months, so like a lot of us are just getting stuck into the routine of things, which sometimes gets it's a toll on your mental health. So get creative about the things you used to do that you don't make time for anymore. Throw that back into your routine somehow and just switch things up. Whatever you've been doing, do something different because there's so many different ways to relax. I've gone through a phase of the pandemic where I was cooking all these different recipes. I'm over that phase now. So now my new phase is right now it is getting back into journaling consistently, listening to podcasts. So much of what I learned about business was through like podcasts. I didn't pay for any of this stuff, which is horrible, which is horrible. But so I haven't paid for a lot of things that I do and know. There's so many free resources out there. So I guarantee you anything that you're struggling with, there's a podcast for that. Start listening to people and making mentors in your head of people who have like navigated the situation you have going on, or like maybe they're living a lifestyle that you want to live. Listen to what they're saying because they give away free gems like all the time, and it's so niche nowadays. You can find like super specific, influencers or whatever for like whatever your interests are.
Yeah, and I know art is a big component for therapy is like, so how have you seen or what methods have you used in your counseling that art forms that have helped people?
So many. So personally, like I said, I'm a writer, so I love narrative therapy. because I feel like viewing anything in the context of a story, like it's just helpful for me as somebody who likes to read. But like some people struggle to literally and metaphorically like get past a certain chapter in their life. So like even using a narrative format to structure like what happened to me at the beginning of my life, like what chapter am I on now, especially when you're in the phase or, you know, a part of your journey where it feels like, you know, you feel like you might not make it to the next chapter, like it's just really dark, you're not happy, whatever. So like that's a source of hope to know like this is just a chapter in a longer story, and you have the power to put the pen back to the paper and change the way this ends. So I'm really into narrative therapy, like getting people writing. If I have clients who are like anti-writing, then I do try to just probe them and see like what art they're into. So I have done actual like coloring things with clients. What else? Some people, they like to talk, so they do like rapping or poetry. Music therapy is definitely way up there. I feel like it influences so much of our culture, so I incorporate that too into a lot of even what I post on the page, because, you know, just thinking about those things that are mainstream media. So like just I love all art. Like I would say painting, music therapy, narrative therapy are like the top art forms. But you know, I have some clients, they're like dancers. So people like, you know, like your strength is moving around, then getting them into like Zumba or like I said, yoga, something where they're really able to release that tension and stuff that they're going through from their body, especially because so many people have somatic symptoms. Like I have so many people where it's like they've been to doctors, they can't find anything wrong with them. And it's like the emotional pent up energy in their body is stressing them out and like causing all these other issues. And like people don't understand it because it's something invisible, like we don't see it. But your emotions really impact you physically, mentally, any way you can imagine. So that's why I love therapy, because that's something I didn't really know until I had to go through that process for myself. So I'm trying to think. Those are the main art forms though, but I'm open to like any form of art. I want to get more into video because I think this generation, we love to like scroll past videos and watch those. Some people don't like to read, and I'm one of those long caption people. So I'm like, some people might be completely missing this message because they do not want to read all this. So I don't like super being on camera, but I'm trying to get more comfortable with it, just so I can reach those people who would rather just watch something. And like those people, I recommend like certain movies, depending on what their issue is, certain television shows, things like that.
When you say you don't like being on camera, well, I appreciate you being here with us.
Thanks.
We are very grateful.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back. I gotta get my light, girl. Like I'm like, it's just too much. But I gotta set my game up because, like I said, when I first started, I wanted to be a six-figure business just off of t-shirts. Like that vision changed, but I still want to be adaptable to like what's going on right now. And like a lot of people, even the people I admire that I follow, I'm following them because I feel like I know them. Like I see them, they're posting their pictures. Whereas I'm a very behind the scene person. So I'll pop in like every once in a while on my own page. But it's like even studying the basics of like marketing and all those things, like people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And like some people might get that connection from reading your words, but some people want to know that you're a real person. They want to see you. They want to know what your lifestyle is. So I'm just having to get even more out of my comfort zone to do that. So things like this help. It's kind of like desensitization therapy for me. It's like go ahead and do it. The more you do it, it takes away that fear or anxiety about it. So
for sure. So especially because there is, we've been in quarantine for a while, so we're really in kind of a state of shut in. Exactly. How can people really, switch that and do more breakout things, like how you're saying you're trying to be, more visible? And so I know a lot of people, like I have felt, more like, like boxed in. So it's harder to like say, oh, I want to do something new and creative.
Right,
right. Stuck in the house,
exactly,
trying to survive.
Exactly.
What are some tips for kind of breaking the mold when you're kind of isolated?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's a great question, Don. Like this is even an example of it right now, like doing this. Like when the world was normal, you can't imagine like just hopping on Zoom, like doing virtual, like, therapeutic, having talks about things that help people care for their mental health. like getting connected with those resources. I'll be honest, because I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina right now. A lot of people are acting like there ain't no pandemic anymore here. Like I go out and I'm like, everywhere is packed. I'm like, goodness gracious, like they're barely even doing the 6 feet thing. It's ridiculous, but I will say when I go out, I am cautious of the 6 feet, having my mask on, all of those things. And then this is a whole nother conversation, but also just immune system defense. So we're talking about washing our hands and stuff, but our immune system is built off of what we consume. So I've been very mindful of my diet, consuming things that make your immune system stronger, help you to fight off like infections and things like that. Um, I joined a social club actually in my area. So that's something I would recommend is like, what are activities going on in your area that you wouldn't normally participate in, or maybe you would normally participate in? Like if they are shut down, find a way to, get creative, and you be that leader who is like, hey, let's get together and do this. Cause everybody feels the same way, but it's kind of like, sometimes we're just waiting for somebody else to come up with a solution for it. So for me, I participated in workout events. Like people have gotten really creative. So like a trainer was like, yeah, cash out me $6. And she promoted on social media. And we're all going to meet at some random like park or somewhere. Or sometimes they do partnerships with like smoothie places or, health and fitness places. And we were all literally 6 feet apart. She had like a DJ out there. We were exercising and it was great. We had our yoga mats. Everybody was doing social distancing. But it kind of switched up the monotony of like just being in your house trying to, watch something on YouTube. I've seen people doing virtual cooking classes. So honestly, just thinking about what you're passionate about, and there probably is a way to to get it outdoors, kind of, or just create an event around it where it is socially distanced. I see people doing picnics a lot more, like birthday celebrations that are outside or, just somewhere where there's a lot of space, not inviting so many people. And as somebody who's like an introvert, I appreciate like some of the changes that have occurred, because it's like, you don't have to invite everybody now. Like you can invite like just those people who are super important, like for you to be around. And so it kind of helps you to really think about your relationships and like how people pour into you and all those kind of things. But yeah, I would just encourage whatever your lane is or passion is, like get creative about how you can like get outdoors a little bit with it when possible, or get into a space and partner with a business that maybe their business isn't doing as well with the pandemic. And like now you're doing like kind of a 2-in-1. So for example, that exercise situation, not only did we get outside and get to stretch and move around, but everybody brought smoothies from the juice place that let us use their front yard area to do the exercising. So yeah, I would say just getting creative, partnering with people, doing events like this where you can reach people all over the country, and just be able to connect. So that's the blessing in this, is you don't have to just have an event that only people in your city can attend. Like you can use your platform in any type of way and create content that can reach more people. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. One thing I have found personally useful is like just the power of language. So I'm trying to think of the example that happened for me personally earlier. Oh yeah, so even when I was talking to that friend who was, like I said, expressing to me feeling overwhelmed, balancing all of the, kids, homeschool, all of that. Sometimes the way we speak to ourselves in our mind, like makes the situation worse. So, and it's a hard thing to unlearn. I've been doing it for like almost a decade now, like reprogramming literally how I think and speak to myself, but it does have an impact on your mood. So for example, it's saying like, like I have to go to work, with everything we see going on around us, like it's a blessing to have employment, like reframing in our mind, like the things that we have to do, that we get to do them. Like it's an opportunity there. Instead of saying like, I got to create all this content for my page, I have the opportunity to invest in my legacy, to empower people who, have similar passions as me. Like just the language we use around the things that we're going to have to do anyways. For example, making food. I have the opportunity to nourish my family, to build good eating habits in my children, and instill like a valuing of their body, and like just reframing how we are looking at it, because it really all is in the mind. And like if we're learning anything from this year, it's like we can't take anything for granted. Like there are people who are doing really well who have gone from, rich to getting evicted because their business is just completely void. So I think it's been a really humbling experience. And I don't like to say like I don't like to say it as, comparing yourself to somebody less fortunate, but like really taking the time to have gratitude for what you do have, because so often we're operating from a place of deficit and just like kind of looking at like what's missing here, like what could be better. But a lot of us have a lot of things every day that some people wish they had right now. So I just like look at it that way. And it's so funny because I'll speak to people. I have a roommate, but it's like I don't have kids. I don't live in the same city as most of my family members. So I've been super isolated for most of this pandemic. And so then I'll talk to somebody else and they're like, my family is driving me crazy. And like we're both wishing we had the situation the other person had. Like they want to be alone for a bit. And I'm sitting here like, can I talk to somebody? Like I'm sitting here calling people I ain't spoke to in like months. Like, dang, I'm bored. Like, so, like I said,
I understand. Like,
yeah.
when you're saying switching your language, like when I'm up late trying to work, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Then I catch myself like, nope, I'm alive and full of energy. Like, nope, exactly. I'm just like, even if it's a lie and my eyes are this open, I'm like, nope, I'm full of energy. I'm up, I'm working, just to kind of trick yourself.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really actually high level, like therapeutic work right there. Because it's funny you say that, because there is a theoretical framework called cognitive behavioral therapy. And like that's basically what you did, because sometimes we have to act a certain way and then wait for our thoughts and feelings to catch up to them. So the three, branches of it are basically thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So any one of those, like we basically just have to act as if it already were, almost like claiming it or speaking it into existence.
Till you make it.
Exactly. Like I'm telling you, that's how I healed myself, girl. Like I had to retrain everything about how I thought, how I behaved. It felt super unnatural at first, but now it's like basically the real me. Like, and it took a couple years. Like it didn't happen overnight. And I think people give up so quick on that. They're just like, it's easier to stay just the way you are. But sometimes you really do have to fake it till you make it, with your business, with whatever. Like you might not feel confident. A lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, will feel like, what do you call it? Imposter syndrome. So like they won't feel qualified to do what they're doing, or they won't feel like they're ready. Like nobody does. Like there are people who have been like the most successful people you can think of on the outside, and they still get nervous before they do certain things or launch a new product. So faking it till you make it is honestly a really big part of it. Sometimes you just gotta go ahead and get dressed up. I do it for work sometimes. Like, all right, let me put some lipstick on and look like I know what I'm talking about, even if I'm not feeling like it. And it really makes a difference.
I looked crazy today. So my son had a baseball tournament today. Y'all, I just pulled myself up out the gutter just for y'all because I didn't look like this all day. And so I definitely understand that. And so what was the 3 branches that you said one more time?
Yeah, so that's under cognitive behavioral therapy. It's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And so those are like the 3 major areas where people struggle to change, but changing any one of those, or like acting as if, so like, for example, the behavior, you could be angry, and it sound like it might feel crazy when you're doing it. Like, let's say you and your boo got into an argument or something. You are pissed, like you are angry inside, but you think about it, you acknowledge your feeling, and you're like, you know what, the behavior I feel, I'm going to act the opposite of it, because at the end of the day, you can't fight fire with fire. If you're speaking with somebody who's upset, somebody in that situation has to be the voice of reason, or like the maturity. And so like I've even done it before, like acting the opposite, behaving the opposite of how I feel like behaving. And it's like I said, it's something we'll do easily at work because your paycheck is on the line. Like everybody done had that person they want to pop off on, or that supervisor doing too much. But you knew, like, if I do this, I might lose my job. Like, we got to think about that with every other like realm of our life. Like, if I say that, I might lose this relationship.
How they say, don't look how you feel.
Exactly.
Exactly. On and keep it forward. Yep.
Exactly. And so, like I said, that's been a big part of my healing because I was raggedy for a really long time. I was actually toxic for a really long time, and it took
Thank you for
action.
admitting that. Thank you. Not many can. Not
Right?
many
Like,
can.
well, I look back and say, man, I was toxic. But it wasn't on purpose. And like some people, they're toxic. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. Like sometimes you literally don't know better. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what a healthy relationship is if you've never had one, if you've never seen one. So we really have an opportunity to like grow in relationship and, have some accountability once we do know better to change our behaviors. So that's where it really starts. Let me see. I didn't see if anybody had any questions. Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And so there are a lot of different theoretical frameworks. Of course, I'm always going to recommend everybody go to therapy. Like it's amazing to me. It's life changing. Like I said, whether it's an entrepreneur, because at the end of the day, no matter what your identities are, there are things that have happened to you that are going to impact your worldview of that experience. So like some entrepreneurs, maybe they have an overbearing boss or things like that, and that's what they're trying to escape from. That's going to inform, like, yeah, Tatiera said, and I hope I said that right. Definitely life changing. Like, I don't want to imagine who I would be, like, if I had not gone to therapy. Like, it would definitely be a miserable, ratchet, toxic existence. And like, I'm just so glad that I learned the skills to like really be able to like communicate with people better, to feel better. Like before, at the end of the day, you're with yourself all day, every day. Like we're definitely learning that during the pandemic, whether other people are around or not. Like who you gonna be stuck with at the end of the day is yourself. Like make sure you like yourself. Like make sure you know what your triggers are. Otherwise, you just out here reacting to everything and destroying stuff, basically. So I think we invest in everything else. Please invest in, even if it's once a month, having somebody outside of your circle to talk to, because it definitely makes a difference. There's some of things that some of us have been through we might not even tell our friends or family or anybody about. But with therapy, you have that judgment-free space where somebody has the training to help you navigate those issues, and really unpack things in the undivided way that you deserve. But even with friends, you might be telling them about like, well, guess what he did? And then she like, well, guess what so-and-so did? Like, it's kind of like a back and forth. Whereas with therapy, you have somebody undivided, just focusing on you in the way that you need to help you process that. And some jobs have like employee assistance programs. So I always encourage people to look into like, is there any free therapy or resources for mental health I have access to through like my employer or insurance. But if you can't, to me, it's worth the investment to at least see a therapist once a month. But I would definitely wish everybody could, like more than that. But if not, make sure you're investing in your self-care routine and like don't make it something that's negotiable. Like you're not going to go 3 days and be like, you're not going to drive around with a flat tire for more than one day. Like we treat everything else with so much more like care and attention than our actual life in mind. You're not going to walk around with your phone on 1%. You're going to put that thing on the charger. Like you have to give yourself that same, dignity and importance in your life, and say, mental health is just everyday thing. It's an everyday maintenance, everyday effort. Don't let yourself get burnt out before you decide like, oh, well, now let me do something. I mean, you might be in that space now, definitely do something. But once you have the skill set, try to be more proactive about it so that you don't go back to a space where, you just feel like it's a really dark and hard place to get out of. So therapy is great. Definitely try to invest in that in some type of way.
So how do you feel like, well, what approach have you taken to, spreading the importance of therapy, of course, but especially amongst the Black community where
Yeah.
it is very taboo? It's like, oh, what's wrong with you? You want to therapy? What's wrong? What's the problem?
Yes.
Oh, you need to go to church, girl, because I don't
Mhm.
know what you going. So like, how would you suggest that we as, regular people, just try to spread that throughout our community, our family,
Yeah.
make that
Right.
same suggestion without it, being so stigmatized?
Yeah. And so I think we definitely have to like check ourselves. Like it starts with us. And like I said, this isn't something that I'm like immune from. Like even as a counselor, I have to check myself on how I talk about therapy. because it's so ingrained in us to like hurl therapy almost as an insult. Like you in a fight with somebody, like you need to speak to your therapist. Like you need, like it's such a negative thing. There's still a negative connotation. We are breaking a lot of the stigma. I do see a lot more like mental health awareness around in the Black community. But at the end of the day, there's still like some topics such as like medications or, you know, being in inpatient treatment. There's still so much stigma. And it first, like I said, it comes down to us and like our language around it, like being mindful not to use it as an insult, like talking about the benefits of it, like not using it as something that's like viewed as a punishment or like a deficit, because it actually takes a lot of strength to like actually look at yourself and like analyze everything that you've been through and like really process your feelings and not just do some outer surface level activity to distract yourself. Like that's what's easy to do, is like act like nothing's wrong, and we do it every day and we see the results of that everywhere, where people just have not taken the time to heal and process what they've gone through. So like having conversations, well, one, unfortunately, a lot of people a lot of people kind of don't buy something or won't believe it until they know somebody that's going through it. Shoot, even if it's the pandemic. So like for me, it's important for me, even as a counselor, sometimes when I'm talking to someone and building rapport, like letting them know I'm a person who has gone through therapy and has benefited from it. So it's not something I'm just telling you. It's not something that I'm trying to get your money. Like this is something that I've experienced. So even if that step for advocacy is you going to therapy yourself, and people think there has to be something wrong with you. Like I said, therapy can be a proactive activity. Like everything could be fine, but I still just want to, you know, process, talk about somebody with everything that's going on right now in my life that's stressful. Like we have this idea in our mind that once you go to therapy, you're like pulling your hair out. You're like, you know, all these like images that come to our mind of, you know, or like you're mentally unstable, you're violent. Like you don't have to reach that point to go to therapy. So like just having conversations like that. Some people, they're open to it, but they're so deep in their depression or whatever they're going through that they won't take the step to get the resources. So if you have a friend or a family member going through it, like helping them to look at the resources, like, hey girl, here's this website, here's this directory of people that you can talk to, and like explaining it to them, because like you said, there's still a taboo with just the word therapy or counseling. So telling them like, I really believe that you deserve for somebody to walk you through this healing process and for you to have a safe space where you can vent about, you know, this traumatic thing that happened to you. Like framing it as what therapy actually is, like somebody helping you to develop an actual treatment plan and like coping mechanisms that are going to help you to navigate tough issues in your life, rather than just that word, because people still have that stigma of like, oh, what, they must think I'm this or that. Like, no, tell them the benefits of like what can happen by going. And the way we carry ourselves at the end of the day is always going to be like the biggest billboard or advertisement. So you can't be telling people to go to therapy and then, you know, you're out here just, like I said, basically being toxic or something. They're like, well, who is this person trying to tell me to, you know, assist with my personal development? Like we have to emulate like these values that we're upholding. Like if we want to attract healed people or see our friends and family members happy, our kids happy, we have to be happy. We have to be able to find joy. We have to be able to hold space for difficult emotions and still, you know, show that we can persevere through them, not lash out at people when we're angry, but even when it does happen, having the awareness to like apologize, be accountable, admit where you're wrong, and like have that conversation. So ultimately, like if you're an entrepreneur, you're not going to take pointers from somebody who like is standing on the corner asking for $5. Like you're going to want to talk to Diddy or like Jay-Z or somebody who's doing it, who's successful at that. So it's the same for mental health. If we want to be advocates for that, then we also have to be good models of what it looks like to have healthy relationships, to have a healthy self-concept, to not be codependent, and just really do our healing and inner work. So yeah, I hope that answered it. But those are just things you can do, like walk it like you talk it, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely helped a lot. That what really stuck out when you said, saying to a friend, you deserve to have someone walk you. That really, like, that struck.
Yeah, it hit different. So.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yes, the semantics.
Yes, it's so
Getting it out
important.
there.
It
Okay.
really is important. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, do we have any other questions, y'all?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm almost out of juice, so I don't know. I think I covered basically everything I can think of. So if you guys do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. But my biggest thing I can say is definitely take the time every day. Like, just remember that mental health is an everyday activity. Like, don't go a week or a couple days without checking in on yourself. Okay, hopefully you're not going a couple of days without eating or without, drinking water or any other thing that we deem a vital, taking a shower. Like, so you need to treat your mental health like this is something that requires everyday maintenance. Just like you have to go to the gas station when you're cars running low on gas, like you have to take care of yourself every day to get to where you're trying to go. And as an entrepreneur, like people are looking to you to be a model as well. That's why we have all these influencers. I mean, of course, things aren't always what they look like, but on an energetic level, like you can tell when somebody is like healed and self-assured and like did their work, and like that can make you more attracted to that person. So that goes for your business as well, or anything else that you're trying to do. Like your energy is going to speak before you do. The way you carry yourself and treat yourself is going to speak before you do. So just, try your best to take good care of yourself.
Okay. Well, before you go, I want you to do a not so shameless plug. It's more about therapy. It's like what it is that you offer, and just a little more about your actual platform and how people can get in touch with you and get involved in your platform as well.
Yeah. So I call myself a mental health awareness company. There's still so many things that we're trying to do right now, but the number one thing that we do is representation through art and culture to raise mental health awareness. So if you're not already, definitely follow the Instagram page. That's our biggest platform right now, and it's just at Therapy is Light. The website is www.therapyislight.com, and that's where I was going to wear one of the shirts, but I was like, nah, that's doing too much. But we sell like mental health awareness shirts with a lot of different witty logos and phrases and things that basically the idea is to make a powerful statement without saying a word. So that's another way that you break the stigma. Like it's almost like walking around, like instead of it like written on you, it's on your shirt. People are reading your shirt and knowing like this is somebody who advocates for mental health awareness. And like even just that act of like seeing it written in a public space is like being a walking advertisement for it. So we have a lot of different topics and options on the store. We have like over 60 items right now. It's mainly shirts and like coffee mugs, but I'm hoping to do different products in the future. We do speaking engagements. We do, whenever the world was normal, I would go speak in schools and do things like that. So I do kind of miss doing that actually, because I really love working with students, because I was a student when I started experiencing like mental health things. So we also have wellness sessions. So like basically it's almost like personal development coaching. It's not a therapy session because I don't diagnose you. It's more solution focused and just you being able to vent and have a safe space to talk to someone. We also do plant-based diet consultations. And because I do believe like what you eat is the mind, body, and soul are connected. Basically, it's about holistic wellness. So you can't have your optimal mind if your body doesn't feel good. All of these things are connected. So we're really trying to get more into like the holistic wellness side of things as well. So I just share a lot of different information and things that are culturally relevant on that platform, so that it's not just your everyday like kind of snooze fest self-care therapy page. We've all seen the pages where it's like just this cliche quote or like something that's just really not doing anything for you. So it is important to me that I try to do it for the culture and like make it something that people connect with, so that we break the stigma on mental health as just like some old white man activity. Like, no, there are people who look like us, who are therapists, who go to therapy, who are healing, doing their work and all of that good stuff. So at Therapy is Light, and you can order merchandise on the website. And you can email. The email's on the bio, but it's info@therapyislight.com. And I'm open to any type of questions or anything. So feel free if you have any inquiries to email.
Yeah, so if you all have questions that you may not be open to sharing with the group, but she has given all of her info, the Instagram, the email, the website, and I hope you all did gain a lot. So I'm gonna say one more time, anybody got any questions? Because girl, we're gonna get it all out of you today. So if anybody has a question.
Well, I hope y'all got something from this talk. And thank you guys so much for joining. I really appreciate it, and I love talking about this. So thank you, Dawn, for the invite.
Yes, thank you so much for accepting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, and we will definitely continue to be in touch. I just appreciate all that you have, so candidly open for us today and shared. And I definitely learned a lot. I learned a lot. I say I'm sitting here looking at the chat, and I took some notes. So I'm grateful, beyond grateful. So, like I said,
I'm grateful for this too. I love this. It gives me, I feel like we're, of course we're not together, but we're kind of together. So I love doing stuff like this.
Yes, wonderful. Well, thank you all for being here and participating and asking your great questions. And yeah, I just hope that you all walk away from it, feeling like you are armed with some tools to, become more, mentally healthy. Mentally healthy?
Yeah, that sounds right.
it didn't roll off my tongue. Yes. And just taking care of yourselves no matter what space you're in right now. We're all going through a weird time. The world is weird. But I think that we should all still continue to strive, to be happy and healthy and continue to work on ourselves. So, yes. Well,
I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for this.
Yes, and you all take care.
Bye.
Thank you guys.
Bye.